Welcome to Plimsolls to Platforms, Episode 7. Join us as we applaud Armani, explore the trend of larger fashions, discover Dita Von Teese, and find out why camouflage is so enduring. Few clothing labels have the cachet of Armani. The name is synonymous with timeless elegance and impeccable tailoring, and Giorgio Armani has become Italy's most famous designer. But fashion wasn't the obvious career choice for young Giorgio. He entered medical school and planned to become a doctor before a love of photography pushed him towards the arts. After fulfilling his military service, Armani became a window dresser at Milanese department store La Rinascente. There he learned the value of clean lines and elegant simplicity, lessons he took with him to the fashion world. In the 1970s, Armani launched his own label and quickly became renowned for his reinvention of the business suit. As the 80s approached and power suits became the norm, Armani led the field with a deconstructed style that combined deceptive simplicity with couture finish. Armani attracts a star following, with Hollywood royalty particularly receptive to his beautiful clothes. At every red carpet premiere, there's someone wearing an Armani original.
A lot of women wear Armani, and they have been for many, many years, and also he's attracted a lot of stars along the way. You know, everyone from Madonna to Beyonce wears Armani, and Jack Nicholson, Leonardo DiCaprio, George Clooney. You know, there's a whole kind of star cluster that surrounds Giorgio Armani, and I think people know about it, and they want to sort of see what it's all about.
And what it's all about is good old-fashioned tailoring. Armani is an unabashed fan of English fashion, delighting in its understated form and muted colours. He once spoke of admiring a yellow cardigan. Everyone thought I was insane. Yellow cardigans were what the Duke of Windsor was about. They were not something for the average man. The idea of such clothing was so outre, so elitist, very, very English. But Armani happily adopted the linen jackets, brogues, tartans, and boaters of the English aristocracy and brought them to the masses. As well as his couture line, he launched less expensive options with Emporio Armani and Armani jeans. Armani has also showed sensitivity towards the problem of underweight models. When 22-year-old Brazilian model Ana Carolina Reston died from anorexia nervosa, he led the way by becoming the first designer to ban models with a body mass index of less than 18. Armani now has more than 2,000 stores around the world and generates more than $1 billion worth of sales every year, as well as his celebrated Oscar dresses for stars like Michelle Pfeiffer and Julia Roberts. The designer has created uniforms for the Italian and English soccer teams and Alitalia's flight attendants. Versatility and class. True genius. For those fashion lovers who favour keeping it real, hip-hop hits the spot. Rap stars like 50 Cent and Kanye West have taken the fashion of the streets and reworked it into a lucrative commercial enterprise. Baggy pants, puffy jackets, and plenty of bling have brought gangster to the suburbs. But as well as inner-city grit, hip-hop has introduced us to the snappy dressing of the 21st century rapper. Gone are the bandanas and ridiculously low-slung pants. Instead, today's well-dressed musician favours expensive leather jackets and well-cut suits. In fact, Musician Pharrell Williams has been named Esquire magazine's best-dressed man in the world.
Well, for us, he represents a new phase in the way men are dressing. Hip-hop obviously is a very powerful, it gives a very powerful image to men, much as Hollywood always used to. It's not just Hollywood anymore. Pharrell represents that switch from through sportswear, through bling, and into something a little bit more elegant, a little quieter, a little bit more sophisticated.
Today's hip-hop is as much about labels as it is about street cred. Just ask Ludacris.
Tonight I'm wearing Etro, you know what I mean? The shoes are Ferragamo, and of course the jewelry line by my girl Lorraine Schwartz.
From casual creamy whites to crisp dark suits, hip-hop is turning heads. Even 50 Cent is not ashamed to own up to his fashion passion. Looking more like $1 million than small change, he paid his debt to a great designer.
You know, this is Armani. 90% of the time you see me on the red carpet, I'm wearing Armani.
But it wouldn't be hip-hop without the occasional flash of bling. What do you get when you cross an old-style Hollywood siren with a cheeky burlesque dancer? The answer is Dita Von Teese.
Sex is sexy, being in control of your body and deciding, you know, what you're going to give and how much and how things are going to go, and being in control and caring for your body is sexy. And I think that's what people need to remember. They need to stand up for themselves and be prepared to have safe sex and insist on it every time.
Striptease artist and performer Von Teese is delighted to introduce new audiences to the va-va-voom of burlesque.
Well, I think that burlesque is making a big comeback in a way now, but you know, there have been burlesque revivals in the 70s. They revived burlesque in the 80s, you know, the 90s, of course. And I just think that now in 2006, it's becoming really more mainstream than ever, especially in the major cities in the United States and here in London. It's huge. So I think it's just seeing a different kind of revival where you're seeing a lot more people becoming interested in it, a lot more mainstream attention to burlesque.
Born Heather Sweet in suburban Michigan 37 years ago, Von Teese watched old Hollywood films with her mother as a child and became fascinated with 40s pin-up stars like Betty Grable. She honed her love of lingerie as a 15-year-old shop girl, studied historic costuming in college, and worked as a costume designer, skills that have come in very handy in her current line of work. Von Teese combines burlesque performance with glamour modelling, and she says puts the tease back into striptease. Her elaborate 40s-inspired costumes include tight-laced corsets, stilettos, and sexy feather fans, all of which have inspired a new generation to explore the high-fashion look of burlesque. Von Teese's trademark black lacquered hair and scarlet lips evoke great Hollywood beauties such as Hedy Lamarr and Ava Gardner. But unlike Lamarr, who once quipped, "Any girl can look glamorous, all you have to do is stand still and look stupid." Von Teese embraces the impracticalities of tight lacing and high heels. She's modelled for many top designers, including Vivienne Westwood, Jean-Paul Gaultier, and Richie Rich, and appeared in Vanity Fair and Elle magazines. Von Teese has also designed a range of lingerie for Wonder Bra and is the spokesmodel for MAC Cosmetics. And Von Teese's sense of style isn't confined to clothes. The performer collects vintage china and drives a 1939 Chrysler. Shopping for clothes can be a thankless chore for the many women who don't fit the fashion industry's definition of a normal body shape. Confronted with waif-like models and unflattering designs, curvier women sometimes feel left out of both the fashion world and society as a whole. But the internet has been helping to change this, with networks developing across the world to connect people to online communities where they can feel accepted, whatever their body type. Deb Malkin, owner of a boutique that specialises in plus-size vintage clothing, has been monitoring the online buzz about her shop and welcomes the support the internet can provide.
It's often just about finding like-minded people who you can, then develop relationships with, either a friendship or emotional or romantic relationships with. We're all looking for, places where we can be accepted.
The rise of blogging, where people start an online dialogue by sharing their personal thoughts, has also contributed to this trend by opening up a world of information on any topic.
If you see someone who's just like you in, Oklahoma, and you create a dialogue between that, or just reading someone's blog, or fueling yourself with information and critique of things that you wouldn't necessarily get through, whatever media options we had 10 or 15 years ago.
Some people think that while the online connections can be personally satisfying, they might not be enough to change everyone's perceptions of the issues surrounding weight.
It's very fractured. There's not like a, fat activist national team that runs around looking for ways to affect change in the law. And I would love that to happen. It's just there's no funding for it.
Not everyone supports the growing trend for larger people to reclaim their space in society. Endocrinologist Janine Albu is concerned that it might take the focus off healthy eating.
I think that groups that tend to say, well, we just got to be accepted the way we are obese. I think they would probably better use their energy, into understanding this problem and promoting, healthy lifestyle choices.
But the call for respect and support for overweight people is surely a step in the right direction. For a footballer, David Beckham has certainly made his mark on the fashion world. The former Manchester United champion is as well known for his tousled blonde locks and insouciant style as for his scoring ability. Beckham was only 11 when his natural ability came to light, and he was signed as a trainee at Manchester United when he turned 16, helping take his team to an FA Youth Cup win the following year. 3 years later, he achieved a dream when he played his first Premier League match for Man United against Leeds, and soon rocketed to fame as a precision kicker. His standout moment occurred in a match against Wimbledon when he scored a goal from the halfway line, a feat that was later voted one of the 100 greatest sporting moments by the British public. It was during this time that he started dating Spice Girl Victoria Adams, marrying her in 1999. Beckham was already considered one of the most stylish men in Britain, but his association with Victoria saw him raised to new heights. Their wedding photos showed them sitting on golden thrones, and they became the most sought-after couple in the world for sponsorships and endorsements. From perfume and cosmetics to hair products and sporting clothing, the pair amassed a fortune from lending their image to various companies. In 2002, Beckham was voted the ultimate metrosexual, a singular honour for a sports star. Beckham's partners include sportswear giant Adidas, perfume company Coty, and Emporio Armani, a favourite designer of both the Beckhams. The soccer great never fails to look fabulous in a sharp suit, sometimes dressed down with a white open-neck shirt and monster watch. But he's equally at home in a motorcycle jacket or vest and rugged jeans. His look is always carefully coordinated with Victoria's, except on the sports field, where he still manages to make his uniform look cool. Ambassador to many causes, Beckham's greatest passion is a football academy he set up for young players to encourage them to reach their full potential, just as he has. Now you see it, now you don't. The art of camouflage was one of the earliest tricks of survival. From body paint to green patterned uniforms, camouflage has been an integral part of warfare for generations. The Imperial War Museum in London showcases the uniforms and materials used to hide soldiers and guns during the First World War.
The very first examples were created as a reaction to the introduction of aerial reconnaissance during the First World War. And what this meant was that equipment and men far behind the lines could now be spotted and, of course, targeted. So as a reaction to that, it was first of all French troops, in fact artists, who devised ways of creating what we now call disruptive pattern to put over guns and equipment and hide them from any aerial spotting.
But camouflage has since morphed from military wear to fashion wear. From slipcovers to sneakers, disruptive patterns have taken the art world by storm. Far from blending into the scenery, couture camouflage is all about being noticed.
Really, I think there's an explosion in interest among artists from around the mid-1980s, I would say, is probably, it's very difficult to date precisely, but around the mid-1980s. And of course that coincides with things like disruptive pattern clothing becoming available in army surplus shops. And again, they're taken on as well by the couture houses. We've got examples behind us like Galliano, Jean-Paul Gaultier, Castelbajac, all creating designs based upon camouflage patterning.
Newsday reporter Francine Parnay noted that it's one of the whimsies of the garment industry that Christian Dior can create a $5,000 plus single-shouldered gown in a print that's more typically reserved for the clothing of combat. But the fashion world has always loved being ironic. Its followers have no problem heading to the office looking like urban guerrillas. For followers of military fashion, it's unsurprising the combat look is taking off. After all, who doesn't like a man or woman in uniform?
The military always had this sort of reputation as being popular with the ladies, and civilian fashion really did want to follow that sort of look. The tight pants, the tight jackets, the tight clothes, a bit of swish, bit of dash. That dash has transferred to the catwalk, where camouflage colours have been paired with natural fibres and soft fabrics for a 21st century edge. Vintage military jackets are also popular. The whole look of the military is cool. It's cool. And I think the young people want to follow this look. Streetwise, street cred. It's a good look to have, the camouflage, the different disruptive patterns, the boots, I say the big pockets. It appeals to young people, and designers have picked up on this very much, I think.
It's the look of a generation that has never had to go to war. Hopefully, it's the closest they'll ever get to it. Luxury, elegance, and Italian style. Milan is a fashion institution, always innovative, but never dependable. Milan Fashion Week is the third on the calendar after New York and London, and just before Paris. For a week, twice a year, designers, models, and media flock to the northern Italian city to sample the newest looks, discovering what's hot and what's not. The first Versace boutique was opened in Milan in 1978. And Donatella Versace is one of Milan Fashion Week's regulars. Like the other top designers, Versace displays her wares as a sumptuous theatrical spectacular, aimed at impressing the world's press and influencing fashionistas. In this show, the focus is a Les Miserables tableau, where models strut the runway in crisp military jackets, knickerbockers, riding boots and cravats. Milan's reputation as a fashion centre means the city is flooded with modelling agencies. Some of the world's greatest models got their start in Milan. But the industry does have a darker side. Concerns about eating disorders among the women and girls working in the profession led Milan to develop a catwalk code of conduct in 2006. Its purpose was to encourage designers to use women with a healthy weight on the catwalk and reduce the incidence of the eating disorder anorexia in the industry. However, since its launch, which also saw a parade of slightly larger women in Elena Miro designs, there appears to be little sign that the fashion industry is taking these concerns seriously. Milan Fashion Week is also notable for the swarms of celebrities who descend on the city to support their favoured designers and sample the hospitality. Katie Holmes, Madonna, and Victoria Beckham are just some of the famous faces that have graced the audience. And it wouldn't be fashion industry without some controversy. This year, there was chaos when Vogue editor Anna Wintour announced she would only be in Milan for 3 of the 7 days of the shows, as she wanted to make it back to America in time for the Oscars. All the major designers changed their schedules so they could show over the 3 days Wintour was in town. President of the Italian fashion chamber Mario Boselli was less than impressed, fulminating that changing the schedule had bad consequences for many, many people involved in the shows, from stylists to models to hairdressers. It's absolutely crazy, he said. She's welcome in Milan, but if she only comes for a fleeting visit, perhaps it would be better if she stayed at home. Fortunately for Milan, Armani and Prada have since agreed that they will all stage their shows throughout the 7 days in future. So magazine editors and buyers alike will have to stay the full week. Milan's Fashion Week is such an institution that the biggest designers have built their own auditoriums. Fashion is the city's lifeblood, and since the 1950s, it has been one of the world's centres of art and design. In 2009, Milan was declared the top economic and media global capital of fashion. It's the place to visit if you want to see where fashion is born.